Some days I create for others, and other days I create because it's what my soul needs. And so today I'm just pulling out this upcycled journal created from a brochure, and I'm just going to go ahead and have a creative art and soul play session. Stick around and join me.
Welcome back to Livie's Lovelies, your inspirational craft channel, and I'm your host, Fam the Fabulous. For more ideas, inspiration, swaps, and challenges, click the link in the description below to join our craft community, the Maker Exchange, on Facebook.
Welcome back, friends. So today we meaning I am working in my art journal. Now, if you notice, this is simply a mailer, a brochure. It's actually from one of the children's ministries leftovers from years ago. And I just simply gessoed the pages and have gone ahead and put a couple of entries in there. Now, today I am focusing in on one of these doors. It comes from I think a digital kit I have up in my Patreon channel for my Patreon members. But I love doors, I love architecture, and so I wanted to do an entry that included one of these doors. So I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut this out. So now that I've gotten that all cleaned up, I think what I want to do is find some papers that, give me a feel of what I want to express. I don't know if that's texture papers or colored pattern papers, but what I'm going to do is just pull out my handy dandy scrap box and rifle through it. Now, typically, I have no idea why I keep this thing on my desk, because while there are a variety of different scraps in here, I typically fumble through this, and because these are just smaller pieces, I'll fumble through this thing and pull out maybe a piece. Now, I will say that if I'm making a card or journal cards or something like that, I can use plenty out of here. But if I'm looking for something in specific, I'm not going to find it in this box. Maybe a piece or shred of paper or something, but nevertheless, it never hurts to look. You never know what you might find. Now, as I suspected, I did not find anything in that box. Well, I think it was maybe one or two pieces of paper, but I did find this little piece of tissue paper. And so I'm going to use that to start off with. I'm going to go ahead and glue it down, and we'll move on from there. So also in that box, I also found this little scrap piece of purple patterned floral paper. It's tone on tone, but it's going to work because I need something to anchor this door onto the page without it looking like it's just floating in thin air, So I have learned from the greats that when you're adding person or an object to your page or to your layout, your spread, it's best to anchor it just so that it has keeps the page cohesive, if you will. Our mind is a brilliant thing. It has the tendency to make, how do you say it? It can fill in the blanks. It will create an image based off of a partial image. But I think when it comes down to certain things, creatively speaking, you want to actually give that impression and not leave the mind to guess, right? All right. And so I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit more of that tissue paper off to the side because there's a piece on one side and want to create a little bit of balance, bring in elements on both sides of the page. And so I'll add some of that to the side and then lay the door on top of it, and I'm using a glue stick. Why? Because this isn't something that I'm going to give to anyone. I don't have to worry about it being touched and fondled. I said fondled. Okay, let me get my life together. I don't have to worry about it being handled or worrying about it coming off. Especially this Avery glue stick, It works very well, and it's pretty permanent, so I don't have to worry about this popping back up, especially on paper, I should say. Let me make sure I put that disclosure out there, not for paper. Now, also, I wanted to point out to you guys, granted, yes, part of this journal is not in frame, but nevertheless, if you notice, I still have some of the background of these pages showing the actual letters, but that's okay because one, you're not going to see most of it, and two, it just adds to what we're doing, what we're putting together here. You won't be able to see many of the words, and frankly, even if you do, it is a faith-based brochure, so what words come through might just add to somebody's day. Now, I did find some scraps. Again, as you can see, these pieces of paper that are laying at the top of this journal are so small. They're so small, but they will accomplish what I am setting out for them to do, which is add some additional pattern and color to the paper. And I'll do the same at the bottom of the left-hand side as we move along, you'll see. But that one that's over in the corner at the top right-hand side, I have been holding on to that little piece of paper that came out of a paper pad, a 6x6 paper pad, for I don't know how long. And it's because I loved the watercolor feel and the muted tones. And I actually like the doodle art of that. And I wish I had an actual, I wish it was a larger collection, but nevertheless, moving right along. And who knows, maybe I'll create a collection of watercolor doodle arts, right? That's what inspires us, right? Either things that we love or things that we want and we don't find. Okay, so I'm just monkeying around with these scraps, and I'm going to have to do a process of elimination because all of those patterns are not necessary in order for me to get the look that I need or I'm going for. So let's move on through till we get to the point where I have made the decision. So I'm just gluing them down, just strips of paper. The other ones are going in the opposite direction, which I think it just gives some balance to the page. We've got, it's not that it's heavy on the opposite page, but we've got the door, and it's anchored with the purple paper. And then at the top right-hand corner, we have some scraps of pattern paper that are framing the right-hand side. So we're just going to continue here. Doing the same to the opposite side and to the lower half of the paper. And this is one of the beauties of scraps, is that none of these things go together, technically speaking, but depending on what you're working with and working on, you can kind of bring everything together to create something beautiful. It don't have to be all matchy-matchy. That's what I meant to say. It don't have to be all matchy-matchy. Now, I will say, I could have distressed these scraps to highlight them, but I wasn't really sure which direction I was going to go. I didn't know if I was going to darken the background or bring more color in. So I kind of left them as it is. And to be honest with you, I like to use the distress inks, especially the browns and the blacks, when I'm actually trying to make something feel vintage or aged or weathered. I don't really like to use it on every project. It does have the tendency, if you're using a darker distress ink on the lighter papers, it does have the tendency to make them look dingy, and that's not really the look I'm going for. So now, to each his own. If that's what you guys like to do, by all means, use whatever you have, however you want to. But if I'm going for a clean look, I'm not going to use the distress inks, not the vintage or the browns and the blacks. Now, I will bring black in, but it won't be... as you can see, it's not being applied in the way that we use for junk journals, if you will. All right, and so I'm going to go ahead and finally lay these down because I have played with them long enough. It's high time that they actually find a home on the page. And so that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to push forward to the other side when that's already done. So I'm just tearing some of the bottom of that purple pattern paper so that it wasn't a sharp, blunt edge. And then I'm going to go ahead and clean up around the edges of the paper, the excess paper hanging off the edge. You know, I do see some creatives that do leave that hanging off the edge of their art spread or their art journal page, but I think that's more for when their journals. Well, no, it just depends on what you're going for and what you like. So that's another thing that I'm learning out here, and I do like to see a variety of the diversity of how we express ourselves in our art journals, whether that's through ephemera, whether it's through what do you call it, calligraphy, um, mixed media. I love it all. And I like to see how others do their thing. I may not do it for myself, but I do like to see how others bring to life a page to express a thought, an idea, an event, or an emotion. Okay, so I just pulled out this micro liner set that I purchased from Temu, and I immediately pulled out the marker out of the set. Now, the majority of them are fine liners, but in all honesty, I thought that when I was purchasing it, I would have gotten the equivalent of like a micron, where it would be water resistant and I could watercolor or add mixed media on top of it, wet mediums, I should say. But that is not the case, and I will soon find that out. So here I am using one of the fine liners to draw some branches, and then I'll use the marker to create leaves. And I just wanted to add some doodling to the page to create some additional interest. I didn't want to use more paper, and I'd also like to try my hand at doodling, sketching. So this is my way of adding a little bit of hand-drawn art, at least at my level, to the page. And I'm sure that as time goes on, I'll get better at it. My skills will increase as I learn a little bit more, and I learn to be a little bit more freer, because there is something about learning a new art that you attempt to adhere to the rules, if you will. And it's fine to understand and grasp the foundational points and instruction, but what makes it your own is when you master that and add to it and draw outside the lines, if you will, go a little bit outside the lines in your own way. So this is my attempt at just adding me to the page. Okay, now I'm going to do that on both sides of the page, not a whole lot, but just enough for me to use to create a foundation for the doodling, in which I'll add more to it, as you'll see later on in the video. So here I've pulled out some Vicky Bouton art crayons, and I'm just going to add some additional color to the page. Now these are water soluble crayons, and they do a wonderful job of adding pigmented color to the page, in which you can, with a little bit of moisture, blend them out, smudge them. So here you're seeing me use a paper towel. Now that's a little too much moisture, so I will do that again, but I will be using my finger for, well, the next one. You'll see me use them again, but without the added moisture from water. So I love these because I think these are similar. Well, I can't say that because I don't have them, but there are something called Neo Color 2 watercolor or water soluble crayons, and I think, well, water soluble pastels. I think that's what they are. So I would like to get my hands on a set of those as well, but I need to first, just become a little bit more familiar with adding color to the page this way with what I have. Now I'm just gluing down the edges of this door so that when I go around it with the Stabilo for shading, it will not, soak up underneath the door. Well, I mean, if it does that, I don't think there be much harm, but nevertheless we want to keep the moisture on the top of the page and not underneath the door. And so you'll see me here using the art crayons to add some color to the leaves, just to make them pop up off the page. And I'll use a couple of different shades here, because why not, right? The wonderful part about working in an art journal, recycled or upcycled from something else, is that, you get to kind of do what you want, and without the fear of making a mess, because it's not really precious. It's not like some $40 art journal that you purchased from, your favorite art supply company. You can kind of experiment, explore, go on creative adventures in it without the fear of it getting quote unquote messed up. And so you have the liberty to, try out different techniques and, even go too far in your mind without being afraid of the end results. And so I'm doing just that. I'm just adding more of the art crayons here, there, and splotchy in some places, and in others it's nice and smooth, and that's fine. It's perfectly fine. Now the last thing that I'm going to do before I put a little quote in here is just add some ephemera in here, some flowers. I have no idea where I got these from. I think I got them from a friend who had found, again, some craft supplies at estate sale. And so I'm just adding them to the page on each corner. Like to have a little bit of balance. I don't like to too much do twos, but in terms of balancing the page, yes. In terms of the number of items on both pages, it'll usually be odd numbers. And so the remnants of this flower will go on the opposite side at the bottom. I'm going to add a little bit of doodling to the flowers, and then I think that I will go ahead and put a quote in here that is that's connected to the purpose of the door on this page, right? And what's an art page without a good dragonfly, butterfly, ladybug, or something? And so I'm adding one of the die cuts that was sent to me in Happy Mail to this page just to bring some of my personality. Seems that I am a lover of dragonflies. Now, if you've watched this channel for any amount of time, then you have an idea of why I like the dragonfly. But I digress. Continue. All right, so I am really not sure at what point the camera cut off. What I will say is that there was only a few more things that I did off camera. The second focal point and the wording, which is behind the doors found on the roads less traveled, you will find some of life's greatest opportunities, and that is why I wanted to use this door. Now, I will say off camera, I did add some white paint splatters along probably that dragonfly. I can't even remember. I also added some white gel pen to the, doodling to the leaves, the flowers, and then this black border, just some black doodled art. And so here is a close up of some of the additional elements. I also added a door knob right there and some stencil. I think I did the stencil the next morning. I really don't even remember what else happened off camera, but you get the gist of it. I think it came out really nice considering the fact that I had no clue as to what I was going to do with this door. But I did use nothing but scraps on this page along with some ephemera. And this just goes to show that, once you get immersed in it, it can go any direction. So listen, guys, I do thank you all so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button along with the notification bell so you don't miss any of the additional art journal videos. And for those who have continued to support this channel, especially when I am on hiatus, I want to thank you so much for continuing to watch, share, like, comment, and listen. Until we're back here together on Patreon and YouTube, my friends, stay encouraged, stay blessed, stay creative, and crafting. Bye for now.
If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Hit subscribe to join the crafty community, and be sure to click the bell for notifications of new uploads. Thank you so much for watching. Now stay tuned for more from Livie's Lovelies, your inspirational craft channel. Bye for now.